I bet you didn't know how quickly comfort disappears when the power goes out. Before we dive in, make sure to like, share and subscribe, and don't forget to hit that notification bell so you never miss out. When everything modern fails at once, theory stops mattering and only proven methods remain. That is the uncomfortable truth every civilian in a blackout city or winter crisis eventually learns. Food spoils faster than people expect. Ice melts overnight. Power lines do not come back on schedule. In the 1930s and 1940s, millions across Europe faced this reality not as an exercise, but as daily life. What separated households that endured from those that starved was not optimism or luck. It was knowledge. And one of the most quietly life-saving technologies of that era ran on a principle that still sounds wrong today. Fire made cold. A refrigerator with no electricity, no motors and no moving parts continued working while cities burned and grids collapsed. This is not survival fantasy. It is documented engineering that kept food and medicine viable when everything else failed. Why keeping food cold became a survival priority long before comfort was a concern. Once supply chains fracture, food preservation becomes the first real crisis. Fresh meat spoils within hours. Dairy turns dangerous. Medicines degrade silently. In wartime Europe, ration deliveries were, irregular or even non-existent, and foraging was risky or illegal. Families just couldn't afford to waste calories. Cold storage extended food life by days or weeks. And honestly, that often meant the difference between survival and malnutrition. This really wasn't about luxury. It was about, slowing decay just long enough to endure all that uncertainty. How absorption refrigeration solved a problem electricity simply could not. Before electric compressors became standard, engineers faced a world where power was, more often than not, unreliable or unavailable. Absorption refrigeration emerged as a solution built for that reality. Instead of motors and pumps, it relied on physics and chemistry. A sealed system using ammonia water and hydrogen gas created continuous cooling when heat was applied. Heating one end of the system caused ammonia to boil out of a water solution. That vapour condensed into liquid, then entered an evaporator chamber where hydrogen gas lowered the pressure enough for rapid evaporation. That evaporation absorbed heat from the storage compartment, producing cold. Gravity and pressure differences carried the cycle forward endlessly. No switches, no wiring, no mechanical wear. Wartime conditions, really favoured systems with no moving parts. In bombed cities and occupied territories, repair was, impossible. Replacement parts simply did not exist. Electricity came and went unpredictably. Absorption refrigerators thrived precisely because they lacked complexity. A steady flame was all they required. Kerosene, alcohol, coal, wood gas, even candle-based burners were used. As long as the heat source remained controlled and consistent, cooling continued. The system did not care about blackouts, voltage spikes or frozen generators. That reliability made it, well, truly invaluable. How civilians adapted these systems for extreme conditions. Households did not treat absorption refrigerators as plug-and-play conveniences. They learned their behavior and, adjusted accordingly. Units were placed in shaded cellars or partially buried to stabilize ambient temperature. Stone enclosures doubled as insulation and, honestly, even blast protection. Wooden iceboxes were retrofitted with insulated chambers. Ventilation around the condenser was carefully managed to prevent overheating. Clay pots filled with salt water were used to buffer temperature swings. These adaptations were not crude improvisations. They were informed, disciplined responses built through observation and necessity. Hospitals and field units, really depended on silent cold. Medical preservation was, without a doubt, one of the most critical uses of absorption refrigeration. Insulin, blood plasma, and those early antibiotics were honestly useless if they were allowed to warm. During prolonged outages, hospitals would run absorption units in their basements, powered by small flames. Field medical units, meanwhile, transported portable versions to stabilize supplies far from any reliable power. The absence of vibration and noise also mattered. These systems did not draw attention in occupied areas, and, they did not announce their operation during air raids or patrols. What modern survivalists often misunderstand about refrigeration is, today's mindset equates cold with electricity and speed. Compressor systems cool quickly but fail hard. When they stop completely. Absorption refrigeration trades speed for endurance. It cools slowly, steadily, and, predictably. In long-term disruptions, that trade-off is not a weakness. It's actually a strength. Food kept consistently cool for weeks is far more valuable than food that's briefly frozen and then lost to thaw. Why this technology still matters right now? Absorption refrigeration never disappeared. It survives quietly in off-grid cabins, recreational vehicles, expedition platforms, and remote research stations. The chemistry is unchanged from the 1930s. Heat in, cold out. A wood stove, propane flame, or alcohol burner can sustain it indefinitely. Snow-covered solar panels and frozen batteries do not matter. That independence is rare in modern systems. What it takes to use absorption refrigeration responsibly. These systems reward patience and discipline. Heat must be controlled, ventilation respected, and seals protected. Ammonia is unforgiving if mishandled. Wartime users understood this and treated the machines with care. Modern users must do the same. The value lies not in rushing to replicate the device, but in understanding why it worked and when it excels. Why remembering old solutions matters more than inventing new ones. Absorption refrigeration stands as a reminder that survival progress is not always linear. Some of the most resilient technologies were built for worlds far harsher than ours. When infrastructure collapses, complexity becomes a liability. Simplicity endures. Fire-preserving food is not a paradox. It is physics put to work under pressure. If this breakdown helped you understand how ordinary people survived extraordinary collapse using real documented engineering, subscribe to WARFRONT Survival, share this video with others who value hard lessons from history and keep these methods alive. The future does not fail gently, and the past already showed us how to endure it. Super WARFRONT Survival. Visual watermark text on screen throughout the video.